In 1970, a woman was found dead in a remote valley in Norway, but no one knew who she was. Deep in the isolated slopes of the Isdal Valley, her body lay partially burned, surrounded by an eerie silence that made the scene even more disturbing. The fire hadn't consumed everything, just enough to raise questions. Around her, investigators noticed something unusual. Personal belongings were scattered, but nothing that could clearly identify her. Every label on her clothing had been deliberately removed, as if someone had gone to great lengths to erase her identity. There were no documents, no name, no past, just a lifeless body in a place few people ever go. And yet, this didn't look like a random tragedy. It felt calculated, controlled, almost like someone didn't just want her dead, they wanted her forgotten. Who was she, and why was every trace of her identity erased? Because what investigators were about to uncover would only make the mystery deeper. And that was just the beginning.
As investigators dug deeper into the case, what they uncovered only made the mystery more unsettling. Not far from the initial discovery, a crucial lead emerged at a train station in Bergen. Inside a storage locker, authorities found suitcases believed to belong to the unidentified woman. At first, it seemed like the kind of discovery that could finally provide answers. But when they opened them, everything changed. Instead of ordinary personal belongings, they found items that raised even more questions. There were multiple passports, each appearing legitimate, yet all linked to different names, different identities, different versions of the same person. It was as if the woman had been living more than one life. Inside the suitcases, the clothing added another layer of mystery. The styles varied significantly, suggesting completely different personas. Some outfits were elegant and refined, others simple and understated. Nothing pointed to a single consistent identity. It felt intentional, as if she adapted her appearance depending on where she was, or who she needed to be. And then came the most cryptic detail of all. Among her belongings were small pieces of paper filled with handwritten notes. At first glance, they seemed random, but upon closer inspection, investigators realized they were coded. Sequences of letters and numbers arranged in a deliberate pattern. These weren't casual notes. They were structured, hidden, and meant to be understood by someone, or perhaps only by her. It was at that moment the case took a darker turn. She wasn't just a traveler. She was someone else entirely.
As authorities began piecing everything together, the mystery only deepened. Witness accounts from different parts of Europe started to reveal a disturbing pattern. Hotel staff described a woman matching her appearance, but under different names. Some remembered her speaking different languages with ease. Others noticed subtle but undeniable changes in her behavior, her posture, even the way she presented herself. It was as if she could transform completely depending on the situation. No one could say which version of her was real, if any of them were. The coded notes only added to the confusion. Investigators attempted to decode them, hoping they might reveal locations, contacts, or hidden plans. But the meaning remained just out of reach. Each attempt to understand them led to more uncertainty. The deeper they looked, the more fragmented the story became. There was no single identity to follow, no consistent timeline that made sense. Just scattered pieces, names, movements, disguises that refused to come together into a clear picture. And perhaps the most unsettling realization was this. Whoever this woman was, she had gone to extraordinary lengths to hide it, not just from others, but from the world itself. Because people don't carry multiple identities, coded messages, and carefully constructed appearances without a reason. And whatever that reason was, it remained hidden. In the end, every new detail only raised more questions, and nothing about her made sense. As the investigation expanded beyond Norway, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Witnesses from different parts of Europe started coming forward, each describing a woman who looked the same, yet felt completely different. In hotels, she would check in under various names, always carrying herself with quiet confidence, but never staying long enough to be remembered clearly. Staff recalled odd behaviors. She avoided conversations, changed rooms frequently, and seemed constantly alert, as if she were being watched or trying not to be seen. What unsettled investigators the most was not just her movement, but the way she adapted. In one place, she appeared reserved and distant. In another, more sociable. It wasn't just travel, it was transformation. And then came the detail that made everything even stranger: her voice. Witnesses claimed she spoke multiple languages, shifting between them effortlessly. But more than that, her accent seemed to change depending on who she was speaking to. It was subtle, but noticeable enough to leave an impression. It was as if she wasn't tied to a single origin or a single identity. It was as if she was living multiple lives at once. As authorities tried to map her movements, the scope of the mystery only grew. Records showed she had traveled across several European countries, leaving behind a trail that was both detailed and impossible to follow. Different hotels, different names, different versions of the same woman. No consistent identity, no clear destination, just a series of carefully constructed appearances that never overlapped. Each stop felt intentional, yet disconnected from the last. It was like chasing a ghost that kept reinventing itself. The more investigators tried to define who she was, the more she seemed to disappear into the roles she created. And perhaps the most unsettling part was this: none of it appeared random. Every action, every change, every movement suggested planning, precision, purpose. This wasn't confusion, it was control. Whoever she was, she knew exactly what she was doing. But why go to such lengths? Why erase yourself so completely, only to exist in fragments across different places and identities? That question lingered as the pieces refused to come together. Because in the end, the deeper they looked, the clearer it became. They weren't just trying to identify a woman. They were trying to uncover someone who had never intended to be known. So who was she really? As the mystery deepened, investigators and independent researchers began to explore possibilities that sounded more like fiction than reality. The year was 1970, right in the heart of the Cold War, a time when espionage, covert operations, and hidden agendas shaped the shadows of Europe. It didn't take long for one theory to rise above the rest. What if the woman was a spy? Her multiple identities, coded notes, and constant movement across borders all seemed to fit a pattern often associated with intelligence work. Some speculated she may have had connections to agencies like KGB or even MI6, operating under deep cover, blending into different environments while carrying out unknown missions. Adding to the intrigue were rumors that the region where her body was found had been linked to secret military activities, possibly weapons testing or surveillance operations. Could she have been there to observe something? Or worse, had she seen something she wasn't supposed to? Some believe she was a spy. Others think she knew too much. But espionage wasn't the only theory. Some investigators considered the possibility that her death had been carefully orchestrated, that she had been eliminated in a planned operation. The strange condition of her body, the missing identification, the deliberate removal of labels, it all suggested control, not chaos. Others, however, leaned toward a completely different explanation. What if it wasn't murder at all? What if it was a staged suicide, a final act designed to erase her identity forever? But even that raised more questions than answers. Why go to such extreme lengths? Why the multiple identities, the disguises, the coded messages, if the end was self-inflicted? None of the theories fully explained the evidence. Each one filled in some gaps, but left others wide open. And that's what made the case so haunting. No matter which direction you followed, it always led back to uncertainty. There were no clear motives, no confirmed connections, no definitive proof, just fragments of possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. In the end, the truth remained just out of reach, buried beneath layers of speculation and silence. Because despite all the theories, all the investigations, and all the years that passed, none of it was ever proven. Decades have passed, but the mystery remains untouched by certainty. Despite intense investigations, countless theories, and renewed interest over the years, The identity of the woman found in the Isdal Valley was never confirmed. No name, no origin, no past that could be traced with confidence. Authorities followed every lead they could, revisited evidence, and even reanalyzed the case with modern techniques. But the result was always the same. Nothing definitive. It was as if she had appeared out of nowhere, only to vanish again, leaving behind more questions than answers. The case became one of the most haunting, unsolved mysteries in Norway, continuing to intrigue investigators, journalists, and curious minds around the world. Over time, new theories emerged, old ones resurfaced, and small details were re-examined, but none of it brought closure. The woman without a name remained exactly that: unknown, unclaimed, and unforgettable. More than half a century later, the silence surrounding her story is what makes it so powerful. No family ever came forward, no identity was ever proven beyond doubt, no final explanation ever tied the pieces together. The mystery didn't fade, it endured, and perhaps that's what makes it so unsettling. In a world where almost everything can be traced, identified, and explained, she remains an exception, a question mark frozen in time, a story without an ending. More than 50 years later, no one knows her name, where she came from, or why she died. And now, the question is no longer just for investigators, it's for you. After everything you've seen, everything you've heard, what do you believe? Who do you think she really was? A spy? A victim? Or something else?
If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next case. There are many stories out there that are just as disturbing and even more mysterious. And now, I want to hear from you. Who do you think she really was? A spy? A victim? Or something else entirely? Drop your theory in the comments below.